I'm not organized all, but I can help you with some of your questions.
Make sure that all these are
Yeah, they're.
And then
she tested. A woman was just testing one.
Great, making sure.
Yeah.
And then if you are too quiet, I'll turn them up for right now, but they should be about an inch away. It'll be perfect.
The governor's going to be up there talking, not me. But I'm just trying to figure out, because the Boy Scouts are supposed to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and they don't know when, because it isn't exactly organized.
Oh.
So, no, I see that, but the way she's reading it, I'm just looking at her notes so I can tell her. Look at the person of the color, and now the Boy Scouts are there. So they need to be on stage. Okay.
The color guard will be on stage.
Yes.
And if the Boy Scouts.
Myself to her thing. So here is this, then is this. Yeah, thank you. I now invite, and she says all their names to sing the national anthem. Is that what they're doing? Mm-hmm. And then it says we will now hear God Bless America from the talented group of young singers.
So that's Mayor Cantor first.
Yeah, so first, here's the pledge, then who's singing the national anthem. Those are your guys? Mm-hmm. Yeah, then Mayor Cantor, then they'll do the God Bless America.
We're just going to stay right here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Governor Susan Weissowitz, and I'd like to welcome you to West Hartford's Vietnam Veteran Recognition Ceremony. A round of applause for our 96 veterans who've joined us today. It is my great honor to be here today among so many brave Americans who answered their country's call to duty. And it is my pleasure also to start this ceremony with the posting of the colors. So I would like to invite up the West Hartford Police Department, led by Matthew LaRiviere, the West Hartford Fire Department, led by Ryan Shea, and the American Legion Hayes Village Post 96, led by Brendan Boyle. And please stand for the posting of the colors and the pledge if you are able. And now I would invite the West Hartford Boy Scouts of America to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I now invite Serena Garba, Ewan McKinnon, Kayla Rosniski, and James Thibault up to sing our country's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were there that once bursting in air gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And please do be seated. And if I owned an NFL football team, I would invite you to sing. And I would now like to invite our host of this ceremony up, someone who, as soon as I told her about the dozens of towns that I had done this ceremony in, was so excited to make sure that we could say thank you to our Vietnam veterans, your incredible mayor, Mayor Sherry Cantor.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you for making the incredible, important decision to recognize our veterans. And you have been doing this for several years now. And obviously the pandemic really did make things much more difficult, but it is important work to identify. It's a challenging process because not everybody is necessarily registered with the towns that they reside in, that they have served or have a history in service. So I really want to thank you for that. It takes a village to make sure that an event like this comes together. This is our largest event of veteran gathering. And we really want to thank our town clerk, Essie LeBreau, for helping all along the way. And the public relations specialist, Renee McHugh, who did so much legwork in reaching out to all of you. Renee, thank you for all that you did to help this come together. I want to thank a couple of my colleagues that are here, Leon Davidoff and Adrian Billings-Smith. Thank you so much, Town Council. And I think, and the lights are bright, so I think Senator Slapp is also here too. And so thank you for Senator Slapp's support as well and for being here. But the recognition, I want to also thank our police department and our fire department and of course, our American Legion Hayes Village Post 96 and their leadership, Marianne Mooney, and the remarkable leadership that they have seen. I also want to thank, so please give a thank you for all of their support. And a West Hartford Boy Scout troop who led us, and of course the beautiful voices you will hear again. I thought they were going to be up here still, but Serena, Ewan, Kayla, and James for their beautiful voices, and they will be singing to you again in a moment. But I just want to again thank the veterans, your families, and all of the support systems, because there are many that are supporting veterans in the worlds that they live. My dad was a World War II veteran. Did not see active combat, so he didn't talk about being a World War II veteran because that was not what you did. If you didn't see active combat, he just really felt, but he was so stridently supportive of veterans and the service of veterans, and that was the most important contributions. All the things that he decided to support were for Veterans Affairs. And I want to thank our Commissioner Sati for all that he does for veterans throughout the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Commissioner. So again, thank you for your service. I know that this is long overdue, this recognition, bringing you all together. We try at periods in time, whether it's parades and events of that sort, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, all of those occasions, but we don't often come together just to recognize you and thank you. And that's what we're doing today. So again, my sincere thanks for all that you have done. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you so much. And good news, we are going to have these wonderful singers back to sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, oceans and
very nicely done. Thank you so much. I am now going to invite Reverend Joseph Rose to come up from St. James Episcopal Church for our invocation.
Will you pray with me? O eternal light, shine into our hearts. O eternal goodness, deliver us from evil. O eternal power, be our support. Help us carry the things that need to be carried. Deepen and quicken within us, O God, the sense of your presence, and refresh us with your power and tender mercy. Most gracious God, who knows our needs before we ask, behold us here, coming from our various homes and workplaces, asking in common prayer for light upon our paths and peace within our hearts. We give ourselves to you this day so that we may walk with joy in the light of your glory and in the way of love. Lord of hosts, our shelter in the storm, be with us, lest we forget the noble efforts of the past in times of war and peace, to preserve freedom and liberty, to guard democracy and maintain order, to sustain humanity in ways of understanding, respect, and justice. We honor these men and women and those who are not with us this day, who have with courage sacrificed themselves in Vietnam and in all the battlefields of life. And we ask that they may be shown and receive compassion and concern as we are all called to show it to others. Amen.
Face. Forward. March. Left. 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 Left.
Thank you so much to the West Hartford Police Department, Fire Department, and American Legion for posting of the colors. So, welcome. We are here to say thank you and to say welcome home, because sadly, many of you came home not to the parades or to the celebrations that we saw at the end of World War II, where people danced in the streets and said thank you to those that had served. We say thank you to a generation of people who endured some of the most difficult conditions ever faced by Americans at war, pounding monsoon rains, stifling jungle heat, some of the most intense urban combat in our military's history, exposure to toxic chemicals, and more. Perhaps some of you had to endure the cruelty of being captives of enemies. You nonetheless have persevered and endured, and we are so grateful that we have the opportunity to honor your service, because you showed amazing resilience, having had to endure the challenges of a very difficult war and the challenges that you faced when you returned home. One common characteristic that so many veterans have is this, that after service, they continue to serve our state, our communities, and our country. So we say thank you as well for your continued service to this beautiful town and to our state. Many of you volunteer in community organizations, have run for office, founded or joined veterans groups, served as mentors to others, and devoted yourself to civic life in so many ways. Above all, your generation taught us a very important lesson, that no matter what we think about a particular war, we always must say thank you and support our veterans who serve, because you didn't make the decision about whether or not we should go to war, but you answered the call to duty and you served, putting your life at risk for our country. And I wanted to just share a quote from President Obama. During his 2012 Memorial Day address at the Vietnam Veterans Ceremony in front of that beautiful memorial in Washington, D.C., said, "You cared for one another. People weren't talking about PTSD at the time, but you understood it, and you were there for each other. And just as importantly, you didn't just take care of your own, you cared for those that followed. You've made it your mission to make sure that today's troops get the respect and the support that all too often you did not receive." So we thank you today for your continuing advocacy and for your service. And we take a moment to remember the 58,000 Americans whose names are on that granite memorial in our nation's capital. And we remember the 612 people from Connecticut who were killed in Vietnam, who gave the last full measure of their devotion to our nations. So we are so honored to be here to say thank you and welcome home. And we would ask all our veterans who are here, if you're able to please stand up so we could say thank you together. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is my pleasure to bring up someone who is representing the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs, Tom Soddy, who takes care of the more than 250,000 veterans that live in our beautiful state. Mr. Jack Carragher, with a message from Commissioner Soddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. My name is John Carragher. I'm with the Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs. I am a soldier for life and a proud American veteran, and it's my pleasure to be here amongst fellow veterans. Commissioner Soddy couldn't be here, but he asked me to share some words with you. Dear officials, guests, and most importantly, veterans, I am truly sorry that I am unable to join with you this evening due to another official obligation. Please know that I am with you in spirit, and I thank Lieutenant Governor Bysewicz for her steadfast commitment to our Connecticut veterans and service members. The mission of the Department of Veterans Affairs is serving those who served, as it is only because of those who have served and those who continue to serve in our armed forces that we are able to live in this free and democratic nation, which has been paid for by the service and sacrifice of those in uniform, past and present, with many making the ultimate sacrifice. This is something we must never forget. However, this nation has at times forgotten and failed to take up the mantle of supporting our veterans, which, as so many of you know from personal experience, was the case for our Vietnam veterans. To the Vietnam and Vietnam-era veterans, whether you served in country or in direct support of theater operations or somewhere around the globe, you served. You raised your right hand and took an oath to protect and defend this nation. And in doing so, you protect and defend the freedom of others. Thank you for your service and for standing up for your brother and sister veterans to ensure that they and subsequent generations of service members and veterans receive the thanks and support they deserve. Please know that the Department of Veterans Affairs team stands ready to assist our state's veterans, and I am pleased that a key member of our team, John Carragher, the Director of Advocacy and Assistance, is able to join you this evening to honor our veterans. Very truly yours, Thomas J. Sadi, Commissioner. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it is my pleasure to invite up your state senator, Derek Slapp, and your state representatives, Tammy Exum and Representative Kate Farrar, for a few brief words of thanks.
Thank you very much. I want to just start by thanking our Lieutenant Governor. You know, I actually worked for our Lieutenant Governor about 15 years ago, and I remember assisting her in holding events very similar to this. So she's been at this for a long time because I know that she believes in her Corps. It's so important to recognize and pay tribute to our veterans. And I would just say that what you did matters, and what you do matters. It mattered then, and it matters now. We have so many challenges in our country now, and I think if we look to the solution of how to come together and meet these challenges, you're the key. Your wisdom, your experience, your bravery can serve as a model for all of us. You know, my father-in-law just passed away a couple years ago, and he was a submariner during the Vietnam conflict, during the war, and that was his proudest moment, serving this country. And I remember we'd sit on the couch and we'd have some bourbon oftentimes, and we'd sit and I'd listen to him and just share his stories. And I'm so grateful that my children were able to be part of that. And so we need to make sure that that continues because you are truly an inspiration. I'm so grateful for your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor, really, to be here this afternoon just to pay tribute to your sacrifice. And I know that it has been one that has not always been recognized, and those have not always been kind in remembering, because it's painful to remember. But it is truly an honor to be before you today. And in thinking about Vietnam veterans, I have an Uncle Mac who served, or had an Uncle Mac who served in the Vietnam War. And I was a young child, but I remembered when he was around, he liked to tease me and to pinch me, so I would try to avoid him. But he was someone that I really enjoyed spending time with. He was my mother's older brother. And I remember how relieved they were when he would arrive home. And I remember the sacrifice, because he did have chemical agents on his skin, in his body, and it did end his life early. But he was so proud of his service to the country, and we in turn were as well. And it's a real example and for all of us to really consider that people are willing, that you were willing to put your lives on the line in protection of this country, and it's something we hold dear. So I just thank you so much for this time, this occasion, and just may we never forget. It's so important to continue to recognize. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to echo the comments of my colleagues, and thank you to the Lieutenant Governor and our Mayor as well. Your commitment to liberty and freedom and democracy is such a model for us, and I also want to particularly thank your families, because in going into service, it's also a role of service for your family and the sacrifices that they make. And I wanted to share a personal note of thanks from my own family, because my wonderful and dear husband actually was a refugee from the Vietnam War. And I share that because him and his family members were a part of the Southern Vietnamese Army and were a part of the wave of refugees who were truly welcomed by so many of you and so many fellow Americans, and have rebuilt their lives in ways that they could not even imagine, to build successful businesses and thriving families. And you were really a part of that next step of welcoming them and so many others after conflict. So I just want to thank you for you persevering through not just conflict, but really persevering with your families to be such a model, again, of liberty and freedom and democracy for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you so much to the representatives who can be seated, because they're going to want to listen to our veterans tell their stories, because this is the best part now that we got all this official stuff over with. The best part is always listening to the stories of our veterans. And I would like to invite anyone who would like to come here, or I could bring the microphone right to you to talk about your service. And I know when I invite people, they just look at me, but I have been to 40 towns and no one left me up here all by myself. So, I know something about people from West Hartford, they're not shy. So I'm going to start moving toward a special veteran who is one of our female Vietnam veterans. Don't we want to hear from her?
My name is Elena DeVaughn, and I was a lieutenant in the Navy Nurse Corps. And during the Vietnam War, I guess the best way to describe it was I felt a compelling force to do something. And I felt with my nursing skills, I had a background doing emergency room nursing in Boston, Massachusetts, where I had lived for a number of years. So I felt I didn't have the necessary skills to do something. So I joined in, and I got an assignment at stateside at Bethesda Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. I spent the majority of that time working in the coronary care unit, and also the orthopedic unit in the hospital. I felt in terms of my giving nursing care, that to me it was important to be there to listen, to comfort, and to do whatever I could when the helicopters would come and they would bring in the wounded soldiers. It was a privilege. It was something that I'll never forget. Also at that time, I had a twin sister who is now deceased, who made almost a career better than 10 years. As an officer as well, she was not in the Navy, she was what we call line officers. And one of the things that I remember was the fact that at one time both she and I were contributing what we could during that time. So I feel very proud. I've never had any doubts. I was fully aware of a lot of the controversy that was going on in terms of our involvement in the Vietnam War. So I would like to thank everybody here, my fellow veterans, and again, I feel honored. Thank you.
So I'm just going to go up this side. Don't worry, I won't forget about anybody else. But so feel free to raise your hand if you would like to say something. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much. All right. Anybody want to share what they did, where they were, where they served? Excellent.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Veterans. My name is Michael Zeta. I'm a 25-year veteran in the Army, and I was in 4 units One was the military intelligence unit in Carmel. My other unit was with 819 Hospital in West Hartford and South Carolina. And I was in 76th Division for a couple of years. And then the 819th changed over to the 405th Combat Support Hospital. I never did any combat training, but I did serve in several units throughout the country. I was in South Carolina, Fort San Jose, Texas. I was in Fort Drum, New York. So I had kind of tenure in the military. So, and also I'm a graduate of Conner High School.
My name is Ricky Pietro. Pleasure to be amongst my comrades, both sisters and brothers. This is an overwhelming experience for me. Thank you very much. I'm a combat assault helicopter pilot in the 4th Infantry Division, 1969-70, up in the Central Highlands of Lake Cool. And did almost 4 years in the Army and stayed, because it was fun flying helicopters, another 22 years in the National Guard. When we came back, as a few of the speakers said, because I'm sure all remotely, I was with a few buddies we were Army uniforms, went into a bar in Seattle and we couldn't get served a drink. They wouldn't serve us at the bar. And later on, after 7 years, someone would say, they'll find out I was a veteran, and they'd say, thank you for your service. Well, frankly, it didn't mean a whole lot, because we weren't thanked at the time we came back. We were spat on, and we weren't treated real well, but that was okay. We lived with that. I think the first time that actually meant something to me is I was taking a private airplane lesson, and the instructor was a Vietnamese man who was a child in 1975 who came over here. His dad was American, mom was Vietnamese, and he thanked me, and he said that what we did there was very meaningful, and he wouldn't be where he was if it wasn't for what we all did when we were over there. This is the second time. Thank you very much. This means something. And Madam Mayor, even though your dad didn't serve in combat, he wore the uniform, and he was there ready to go, and he was seen. So, he was good veteran.
So there's somebody who's wearing a really nice uniform, and it would be such a shame if we didn't get a chance to see it. So, okay, so, all right, we're not going to miss the man with the uniform.
My name is Tom Delano. Spent 68 up on the militarized Marines infantry. People know much about it, it's 23 problems. Bobby River, case up. And spent a lot of time in the hospital out there. But you don't get to see what, gratitude and everything is until something like this happens. Because we didn't get anything when we got back. And I always felt bad, felt a little isolated because of that. But it's nice to see that we get the recognition. It's also nice to be the best. The feeling of the best. And I always felt that. And also I'd like to thank Senator Slack. He's helped me out with quite a few things. And I do appreciate it. But I just want to say that being a combat and getting this is really special. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Rolf Knoll. I retired from the Army about 15 years ago after 25 years of service. In 1965, I enlisted in the Army. I stayed at Minnesota College and went through basic training and airborne training. At the end of that, I got orders for Vietnam, was in the 3rd Airborne Brigade. Fortunately, the Lord was looking out for me, and I received a commission at West Point and spent the next 4 years there. I was then sent to Germany. But my roommate and best friend went to Vietnam, and he lost his life there in a plane crash 2 months after he got there. His wife was pregnant with his child, and the child was born, obviously, 6 months later. The good news is my other West Point roommate married his widow, adopted a child, and then that child went on to West Point. So I often go back to the cemetery to see Mike Miner's grave and to think about what a great philosophy was to the Army and the country. Thank you.
Anybody else over here? Anybody else on this side?
My name is Ron Lauder. I was in Da Nang in 1969. I was an air traffic controller. It was the world's busiest airport, and I never left anybody up there.
Okay, and I see the people over there. Don't worry, we're not going to speak.
Thank you very, very much for having this lovely ceremony for all of us. And who knew there were so many Vietnam veterans, other veterans in West Hartford. It's astounding to see so many of you here, and I'm proud to be with you all. My brief story is I was senior year of college, all signed up to join the Peace Corps. To join the Peace Corps, I was scheduled to go to Togo, Africa, to establish a fishery project there. And when the Vietnam War was really starting to that was what we were told to do, and we did. And I was with the 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines Artillery for the 13 months, and lived through that offensive and the operation in Way City. So, as with others, we had a rough coming home. Myself, to give you a little story and sense of it, came back commercial airline, Pan American Airlines, into San Francisco of all places, and we had been told to make sure our uniforms were in great shape and wear all of our Vietnam ribbons, which we did. When we got off the plane, we were surrounded by a Hare Krishna group that danced around us and threw flowers at us, which we didn't take too kindly, as you might imagine, and had other issues as we tried to leave the airport. So it was a rough coming home, but we all, as we stand and sit here today, we all came through it. And again, my absolute best to all of you, and as we Marines say, hoorah!
Hello, thank you for sponsoring this, Lieutenant Governor in the town of West Hartford. I'm Ed Peltier. I was a draftee, served 2 years, 1 year in Vietnam as a platoon sergeant, 1st Air Cav. I was in infantry for 5 months, and the last 7 months I got lucky and got a supply sergeant job for the same company that I was with. There were challenging times both there and coming home, but like most of us, we got on with our lives and contributed to our community. I thank everyone for their service, and as others said, it's great to be among veterans, Vietnam veterans. Long overdue, but we do appreciate it, and welcome home. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Hunnis. I spent a year and a half in Vietnam, and it was an eye-opener, because you're over there, and the majority of people are like the people right here. All you want to do is have a family, raise a family. And once again, like you said, politicians get in the way. They make the decisions, and you don't have too much to say about that. I did get to see quite a bit when I was over in Vietnam. I'll take the helicopter rides, and I was testing some of the equipment on some of the planes and bombing ranges and everything while I was over there. It was a beautiful country, and the bombs, I mean, they pockmarked that country. Has anyone ever gone back to Vietnam to see what it's like right now? Would you raise your hand if you have? Yeah. I mean, that is a trip that I would love to go back to. I've seen what has happened, like up around Saigon, Highway 1. At that time, Tet Offensive. I was up in Saigon just before Tet Offensive happened. And I mean, you had a little barbed wire that was right around Highway 1. I left, Tet Offensive happened, and when I came back, you had telephone poles, barbed wire all the way to the top of those poles. There was a big field across Highway 1 that what used to be like jungle, that was completely cleared with Agent Orange. Like I say, I did see different parts of the country. I would get in a car with a civilian and with no army clothes. So it's really eye-opening. And like people have said, you come back here, you are not appreciated. But this shows some appreciation. Thank you.
Edmund Driscoll, 1st Battalion, 3rd Marine Division, Quang Tri Province, Vietnam. Whenever you see a couple of Vietnam vets greet each other, you'll hear the sound, you'll hear the words, welcome home. We sing it from the wars, welcome home. Resume family chores, welcome home. Sleep, no gun on your side, but embracing your bride. We love you so much, welcome home. You can walk down the road, welcome home. Nothing will explode, welcome home. You may jump at the sound, no need to look around, you may jump at the sound. Love you so much, welcome home. If the war in your heart is long ago, or a more recent foe, welcome home. You have so much to live and big reasons to live. We love you so much. Welcome home.
All right. Anybody else? Going once? Okay.
Goldfarb. I served in Vietnam for 13 months in 1967 and 1968. I served in 2 units, the 178th Helicopter Company in Phu Loy. Then I was in Na Bay, not far from Saigon. And I saw the way, the things that struck me the most were the way that country was at war and how the people lived. And I wrote to my mother and father at that time, one of my first letters, I said, the American people should be very appreciative of their country, how clean it is and how nice it is. And they should actually, I used these words to my parents. I said, you should go out and kiss the sidewalks and kiss the streets. Because in Vietnam, it was so dirty. These are the adjectives. It was very dirty, and when it rained there, the rain came down in monsoons, not like here. And the way the country was conducted, and it was terrible at times. We tried to make it better. And every person that I worked with, whether it was an officer or an enlisted man, and I was an officer, everybody was
significant time. But anyways, the town of West Hartford has always been supportive, at least from my point of view. And I'll never forget that. They had bake sales and cookie sales, and it was remarkable that the town got together and cared about us, especially at that time of the war. I was in the last infantry brigade, and I was there in 71 and 72. And everybody was pretty tired of it. But the town of West Hartford felt enough to take the boys home for Christmas, and that was very meaningful. Another thing, since coming home, I've had the experience of meeting some real outstanding people, some brother and sister veterans. And I had an occasion in Washington, D.C. in 1984. I went down with some fellow Connecticut State Troopers and probably had one of the best drunks of my life at a place called the Dubliner. And there I met some fantastic people. One was Captain B.T. Collins, who had lost an arm and a leg, SF, early on in the war. And didn't know he was somebody until reading about him later. He was Chief of Staff for Governor Jerry Brown, but never went on. He was just a brother veteran. But B.T. Collins went into Joe Galloway, who wrote We Are Soldiers Once and Young. And B.T. Collins said something that really struck home and will for all of us. He said, we are the lucky ones. And that's all that needs to be said. We are the lucky ones. Thank you.
All right, well, a round of applause for all of our veterans who shared their stories. So what we're going to do is we are going to just do a little bit of setup. We're going to invite the mayor and the council people and the legislators to come up for the photos. And
a couple more thank yous. I just want to recognize our town managers in the audience. Rick Ledwood, thank you for being here. Thank you to Hunter High for hosting. And West Hartford has an active Veterans Affairs Commission, and I want to thank the members of the Veterans Affairs Commission that are here today. They were very instrumental in pulling this thing together. So please give them a round of applause.
all right, so what's going to happen is we are going to start calling the names of each veteran. And if you would like to come up here to get your picture taken, please do. If you would rather get your citation and your pen in your seat, just raise your hand and we will come right up to you. So, ladies.
And if you were not checked in, we do not have your name on the list. So at the end, if there is anybody who has not been recognized, we will call for that, raise your hand, and we will present you with a citation and recognize you just like everybody else. So we are going to begin with Gary Aldridge.
All right, Mr. Aldridge, we are practicing on you.
And just to make sure I got you, even if you didn't check in, I'm going to read every name on the list. Leslie Spencer Andrew Jr. So next we have Brian Bannister. Citation to this next veteran, John Barnes. Please raise your hand. Next veteran, we will be going to you as well, Carlo Belizzi. Please indicate where you are back here. Paul Bosco. Brendan Boyle. Brendan Boyle's out of way. We recognize it. Ralph Braithwaite. Next, we have Kevin Brownell. Next is Richard Yu. Next, we have Larry Carr. And after that, we have Thomas Cerniglia. And I believe we're going to this next veteran, Gregory Clark.
There he is. You were hiding.
He's not going anywhere.
Oh, no.
Next, we have Jeffrey Cole. Francis Cunningham. Raymond Cusick. Applause for Raymond nonetheless. And next we have Brian Dagnall. Thomas DeLau. Joseph Galinato. Next we have John Gickler. Rock Goodman. Dick Haddon. Do we have a? Michael Graham. Dick Haddon, come on up. Gregory Hatfield. Double checking David Horowitz. Next we have James Howard. Or Chester Humphrey. Next we have Jim Iannone. Raymond Jean. Robert Loomis. or Brian Odlum? So we are on to the next, which is Richard Papagna. Next we have Pete Parizo.
We'll start over here. Thank you very much for your service.
Edward Pelletier. Richard Pizzella. Robert Pizzella. Once again, Robert Pizzella. Myron Grazer. Just want to make sure Edgar Reed. Okay, then next we have Thomas Remo. Thomas Remo. get a Joe, we do have a Joseph Stafford as well.
Yes, we do, and I got that.
Next, we have Peter Steinley. Peter Steinley. Well, next, we have who we should have recognized in the first place, Joseph Stafford. And it is hard to hear when people are clapping and we're saying the names, but do not worry, we will not leave anyone's name uncalled. So if you didn't hear your name, do not worry, we will not end without saying thank you to every veteran who is here. So do not worry. David Traeger. Edward Violette. Douglas Walter Senior. David Ward. Washbond. There he is. Okay. Is James Young. Peter Zeman. Michael Zenoff. That we have not recognized. Hastings. Wrap up for closing remarks, any other veterans that we have not recognized? I'm going to hand it back to Lieutenant Governor. Thank you all for your service.
All right, so there has been a request from a veteran who would like to would like to recognize each branch of service. So if you hear your branch, if you could either raise your hand or stand. So we'll start with the Marines. All right, Marines. U.S. Army. Air Force. U.S. Navy. U.S. Coast Guard. Merchant Marine. All right, well, one more round of applause for our amazing veterans. Thank you all so much. We are so grateful. We have taken pictures of every veteran who spoke and every veteran that was here today to be recognized. And if you would like to see the photos, you can go to the Lieutenant Governor website or to our Flickr page, and your grandkids can tell you where to find that. And finally, I will say that if you didn't tell us you were coming, we didn't have a citation for you, but we will send one to you, so don't worry about that. And finally, it is my pleasure to bring up Reverend Joseph Rose for our benediction.
We pray for peace in our time. But I think this is a time also, as we heard tonight, to give thanks. So we say, Holy One, thank you for the gifts of this time together here tonight. Thank you for these, your servants and our neighbors, for Elena, Tom, Dr. Ralph, Rick, Ron, Chris, John, and all of the others who shared their stories tonight. For their stories of hardship, sacrifices, friendship, those were the things that made this a sacred place tonight. We also thank you for the stories that were held silently and others who served here tonight. We thank you for Mike Meyer and all those who made the ultimate sacrifice who could not be here tonight. We thank you tonight, loving God, for the sacrifice and the love of neighbor of all the men and women here tonight in Vietnam and on the return home. We thank you for their presence here tonight. Give those of us who have benefited from their service to walk in freedom and walk in safety the courage and strength to be with them. And let us say with open and welcoming hearts that we are proud of them, we honor them, we respect them, and we are blessed by their bravery. We pray that you will watch over these special people and bless them with peace and joy. Amen.
Thank you all so much for coming. It's been an incredible honor to meet all of you. Please do enjoy some refreshments on the way out. Thank you so much.